All right, these new spoilers are absolutely insane because I think we're surprisingly meeting Shanks' brother. I know, what? Wait, what are you talking about? Shanks has a brother? Yeah, I mean, if you're a hardcore, you know about this theory, but if you're more so on the casual spoiler side, this is like a huge shock to you. And I'll explain how it works, but there's some other stuff, but wow, this chapter is insane. Very fitting to end the year off on this one. So, chapter 1134, The Owl Library. Luffy thanks Saul for saving Robin's life. This is coming off of the previous chapter where we saw Saul and Robin reunite. Lilith brings her stuff. Turns out she has a clone of Vegapunk, Stella. She has plans to do on Elbaf. What? Lilith has a clone of Vegapunk, the Stella version, which is like, you know, the Einstein Vegapunk. I don't know. I'm not mad at it. I'm just like, what was it? Why? I mean, if he actually tells us some substantial secrets about the history of the world, then fine, bring him back. But other than that, if he's not going to do that, keep him dead. The Owl Library is a library where a normal book size gets enlarged so giants can read. That's pretty funny. I didn't even think about that. This also makes me think, there was a theory going around. I actually talked about this with Sai. I'll have that video linked at the end of this one, where it's a possibility that being on Elbaf turns you into a giant if you stay there long enough. Like, instead of time moving slower while being there, you just get bigger and become a giant. I don't know if that's the case or if this is alluding to that. I'm just saying it's a possibility that would be interesting. Yeah, books get bigger. The scene goes to the underworld. Loki is chatting with someone called Masa, I don't know, Mosa, whatever. Just tell me in the comments however you want to pronounce this name. All right, totally on board with this. Anytime Loki is in the series, I am interested. I'm very curious to see where this goes, but we're definitely gonna have to wait for the full summary because this is all we're getting about this. So I can't speculate too much on who freaking Mosa, in quotations, is and what he's talking to Loki about. Scene changed to Heaven World, highest branch of Elbaf in a castle. Suddenly, a magic circle appears. Two-person coming out of the circle. One of them is alike Shanks, same as chapter 907. So before we get into that huge bombshell, let's just go over a quick correction in the spoilers that Scotch Informer wrote for us. The two characters in the end don't appear in a castle in the celestial world. They appear in a magic circle within that castle in the giant village that we saw before. The holiday season is here, and if you're like me, you're probably looking for that perfect, unique gift for friends and family. Well, I've got something that's not only thoughtful, but also super useful, and that's thanks to today's sponsor, Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device. It draws flavor to your mouth. It's not a vape because it has no vapor, it has no nicotine, non-toxic flavors, no batteries. It can calm anxiety with its fidget motions that has magnets, snaps, and clicks. And it has this really cool base that holds your fume for you, or you can spin it around. It comes in 2 aesthetic colors and has a bunch of great flavors. My favorite flavor at the moment is Spearmint Ice. Whether you're helping someone build better habits or just want to give them something fun and relaxing, Fume makes an awesome gift for the holidays. So guys, Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you could be the next success story because for a limited time, you can use my code Zhoniin to get your free topper. It's the perfect accessory for your Fume device. Slip it onto the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. It's chewable for those who love to fidget, and it's reusable. So head to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com and use code Zhoniin or scan the QR code on screen to get your free Fume topper when you order your journey pack today. Thanks, guys. So before all of this theoretical talk about Shanks having a brother, which is relatively new, I would have just thought that this was Shanks appearing on Elbaf, but no, it's probably his brother because a magical circle appears and two people are coming out of it. So, the magical circle, as we know, or at least what is implied here, is the same magical circle that we saw the Gorosei using back on Egghead, which is also implied to be Emu's magic power, whatever abilities Emu has, not fully explained yet. And since there are two people, I think one of them is probably Garling, or one of the other Gorosei, but I think it's Garling because he's coming with Shanks' brother, if that is what's going on here. Because, you know, we've been talking about it for, what, like 2 or 3 years now, that Garling is likely to be Shanks' father. Then, when Dragon was talking to the other revolutionary commander, and he mentions the Holy Knights, which is, I think, the very first time that they are ever mentioned in the series, we see silhouettes of them, and the one in the middle, who is like, I guess, the new leader, since Garling is now a Gorosei, looked like Shanks. Well, you know, his silhouette did at least. And then we were thinking, oh, Shanks has a brother in the Holy Knights. But it was kind of loose. You know, we were only going off of the silhouette and the sword shape, which, you know, resembles Griffin. Shanks' sword. Garling's sword also kind of resembles Griffin in a way. But then later on, when we got that big awesome collage panel at the end of chapter 1121, showing us who the final players in the hunt for the One Piece are, we saw this silhouetted person again, which seems to be the same silhouetted person from the Holy Knights that we saw in 1121 with the same sword. And since we saw this, we're like, oh, he looks even more like Shanks now. Kind of, I guess, maybe. So now we go back to the spoiler, where Scotch Informer says one of them is like Shanks, same as chapter 907. Now, 907 is the big infamous chapter where we thought it was Shanks meeting with the Gorosei, talking about a quote-unquote certain pirate, but now it seems like that wasn't Shanks this whole time. It was his brother. And it's like, wait, why? Well, it's because we don't see the left side of his face. And on the left side of Shanks' face is this iconic scar that he received from Blackbeard in a fight that we have yet to see. This could have been Oda's 4D chess move of introducing Shanks' brother this whole time, and if that is the case, I will bow down once again to Oda. What an incredible twist. I mean, I think it would have been better if Shanks was evil this whole time, but I'll take this too. This is great as well. Also, if that is the case, then it makes sense how the Gorosei were treating Shanks' brother in this sequence. They're like, hey, you know, what are you doing here? Given your standing, you have nothing to do with politics. So if they're talking about him being a Holy Knight member, then that totally makes sense. Also, before we go further, one more thing that is pointed out here by Pewpiece is from an SBS, or I don't know what this is from, some kind of Q&A Oda did. Probably from an SBS, maybe from some kind of magazine or something, I don't know. But he was asked, you might have been asked this thousands of times already, not sure, but is Shanks two different persons? You know, since Shanks is sometimes drawn without his scar. Plus, he arrived at the Power Mount War so quickly with unbelievable speed, despite having just fought Kaido. And then Oda apparently said something censored. He didn't answer. And then the text on screen says, please take your own conclusions from this. Ooh. Spooky. And finally, if this is Shanks' brother and Garling, or I don't know, somebody else, maybe another Holy Knight with him, doesn't have to be a Gorosei, but it just makes sense that it would be due to the magical circle, then it goes back to what Dragon said when we were first introduced to the Holy Knights, and that's, if they mobilize the Holy Knights, that's where the fighting will begin, meaning Elbaf is the beginning of the end. We'll talk way more about this once we get the full summary, hopefully tomorrow, so subscribe for that if you haven't already. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you in the next one.